In a peaceful forest, where the trees stood tall and the flowers bloomed bright, lived two birds named Tiko and Lily. Tiko was a small brown bird with plain feathers. She wasn't much to look at, and her feathers were dull and very scanty compared to the other birds in the forest. Lily, on the other hand, was the most beautiful bird anyone had ever seen. Her feathers were a dazzling array of colors, pink, blue, yellow, and green, that sparkled in the sunlight. Lily was proud of her beauty, and she loved to show off her feathers to all the other birds. They would gather around her, admiring her colors and singing her praises. But Lily had a mean streak. She would often make fun of Tiko, calling her names. "You ugly bird," she would scream. "Don't you wish you were as beautiful as I am?" She would laugh out loud as she mocked Tiko whenever she passed by her nest. Lily was also very authoritative, and the other birds, eager to please her, joined in the teasing. They laughed at Tiko and refused to play with her. Tiko was a kind and gentle bird, but the hurtful words made her very sad. She tried to join the other birds, but they would turn their backs on her, laughing and flying away. So, Tiko spent most of her time alone, sitting on a branch far away from the others, watching the world with a heavy heart. One day, as Tiko sat alone, a huge brown eagle flew high above the forest. He had been observing for a while how the birds were treating Tiko, and he would circle above, contemplating whether to intervene or not. One day, as the eagle was making his rounds hunting for his meal, he noticed how the beautiful birds treated Tiko. He saw how they mocked her and how Tiko was left all alone. The eagle felt a deep sadness for Tiko and knew he had to do something. That night, when the forest was quiet and the birds were asleep, the eagle flew down to the trees where the beautiful birds slept in their nests. He carried with him a special paint made from rotten berries of the forest. Carefully and quietly, he painted the faces of all the birds who had made fun of Tiko. He painted their feathers with dark, dull colors so that when they woke up, they would look worse than Tiko. The next morning, Lily woke up and shook her beautiful feathers as always. But as she stepped out of her nest, some other birds standing on a tree branch close to her screamed in horror. "Why are you looking so ugly?" they asked, disgust written on their faces. Lily laughed out loud, thinking they were teasing her. But the birds screamed even louder and flew away. Lily felt uneasy for a moment, but she shrugged it off and made her way to a little stream beside the tree to drink some water. As she bent over the stream, she caught a reflection of herself in the water. Her face was so ugly, with different color patches, and her feathers had turned pale and dull. The forest was filled with cries of shock and confusion. The beautiful birds who were friends with Lily had also woken up to find that their bright, colorful feathers had turned dark and pale. Lily's friends flew to the river to look at their reflections, only to see that they were no longer beautiful. Their feathers were just as dull as Tiko's, and even more unpleasant to the eyes. When the other birds saw this, they began to whisper and point, just as they had done to Tiko. They started avoiding Lily and her friends, not wanting to be near them anymore. Lily felt a pang in her heart. Now, she understood how Tiko had felt all along. While Tiko was on her way back to her nest with some food she had gathered for herself, she met Lily and her friends. She was shocked to see them looking rather unfamiliar. Lily and her friends saw Tiko and felt ashamed. They ran into their different nests to avoid her. A few days passed, and Lily continued to be a laughingstock among the birds. She had made fun of a couple of birds whose feathers were not as bright and beautiful as hers, and now she was getting the same treatment in return. Tiko, on the other hand, started receiving invitations from the other birds to fly out and play together. Gradually, she became friends with them, and they never mocked her again. One fateful day, Lily and her friends, feeling ashamed of how horribly they had treated Tiko, decided to go and meet her. Lily looked at her with tears in her eyes. "Tiko," she said softly, "I am so sorry for how I treated you. I made fun of you because of your feathers, but now I know how much it hurts to be judged for how you look." Tiko looked at Lily and saw that she was truly sorry. She smiled and said, "It's okay, Lily. We all make mistakes. What matters is what we learn from them." Lily nodded and flew back to her friends. She told them what Tiko had said and how they had all been wrong to judge her. From that day on, the birds in the forest learned to see beyond appearances. They realized that it wasn't the color of their feathers that made them special, but the kindness in their hearts. They played together, laughed together, and welcomed Tiko into their flock. Tiko was no longer the ugly bird, she was just Tiko, their friend. As for the wise eagle, he watched from above with a smile on his beak. He knew that the forest was now a better place, where all the birds were valued for who they were and not for how they looked. And that made his heart soar higher than ever before. The end.